Hey, what's going on? My name is Nicole Ambrosio. I'm the children's pastor at Gulf Coast Church. It is such an honor to be with you today. You could be anywhere else, but here we are together. Today, I have the honor of sharing the message called All Strings Attached. You know, I'm thankful for a few things with strings. I'm thankful for shoes with strings. I'm not one to really tie strings. I'm more of a, you make that good knot and you just put your foot in and you don't tie it ever again. Do I have a witness? Good, I got a witness. The second thing is I am so thankful for guitars with string. Chris Tomlin, Travis Green, Israel Houghton, all day crushing it on the guitar, leading us in worship. I'm also thankful for an amazing person at our church who made this beautiful, beautiful blanket for my now 8-month-old son, Luca, and this just keeps him nice and warm, but most importantly, it is made with so much love and care and time. And you know what else I'm thankful for? I am thankful for you. Yes, me? Why are you thankful for me? I'm thankful for you because in God's word, in Psalms 139, it says that you are made, that you are intricately and skillfully formed as in an embroidered blanket like the one that I have in my hands, that God put us together in such a unique way. And just like this tapestry here with colored threads and cloth, it's woven into a beautiful design. And you know, each one of us is being created in and through our lives. We have three key areas. We have four key strings that are intertwined, they're weaved together, and they pull and tug at us, and they fill our schedule on a daily basis. Life is busy. We feel it, we live it, and we sense it. And these four strings is this. Number one, it's people. People, our relationship with God, our spouse, our family, our friends, our neighbors, the people who we unexpectedly meet. Number two is places, our workplace, where we earn a living. Three is the strings of progress, our goals and our dreams. Four is the strings of platforms, our fear of influence and impact. And for us today, pastor, minister, leader, how do we live abundantly in an unavoidable struggle of life? We have the pull and the tugs of life. The pull and the tugs that always intertwine and weave together. How do we handle that? Like I mentioned, it's unavoidable. We all go through it. And the good thing about it is it means that you're alive. It means that you are alive. So real talk, real quick. So there are times when you and God are as close as ever, and there are times when you are distant and far away. There are times when you and your spouse are compassionate and loving and so connected and on the same page, and there's times when you are way apart, off base. A text message just throws you off and it messes up your whole day. There are times when your kids, when your teens, they pay attention. They're awesome. They're doing what they need to do. The house is clean, spotless. They're doing their things. They're sweet little angels. But then there are times when you and your partner or you and your friend or you and another child say, they're crazy. They're out of their brain. Those ain't my kids. Those are your kids, right? There are times when we are close-knit with our friends, and there are times when we are further away because life is busy. There are times in our profession and ministry where you're crushing it. You're killing it. The numbers are up. God is moving. God is doing his thing. People are coming to know the Lord. The community is building. But then there are times when do we think it's worth our time? Do we think it's worth our effort? Do we think that we're gonna make it? There are times when we are hitting all our desired goals and our dreams, and sometimes we feel that we're at a standstill, that there's no momentum, and we'd rather just give up and throw in the towel. There are some days when your impact and influence is noticed and appreciated, and some days you feel like you're being just thrown under the rug. Through it all, just like this tapestry here, and that I had in my hand, that God is working in your life string by string by string by string, pull by pull, tug by tug through your life. And he is weaving together something awesome, something powerful, something significant, something that when people stop and look at your life, they say, wow, isn't God good? And not just that, but it's not that he is weaving something for the future, that he is weaving something right now. You know, no one knows more about all strings attached than Jesus. He lived full, busy days. He knew the struggle of life and the struggle of ministry. But he also understood these three things he had to do, three things that he must do to handle the pull and the tug and the interweaving of his schedule. First and foremost, Jesus made time with his Father to get his daily assignments. In Mark 1:35, it says, before daybreak the next morning, Jesus got up and went to an isolated place to pray. There's many verses like this in Scripture where Jesus went away to pray, said, disciples, I'll be right back. I'm going to pray. As people were sleeping, he went and prayed. And for us today, are we taking moments to spend time with God, to listen to him, to be in fellowship with him, to lift him up in personal worship, to simply be in his presence? It's here that gives us the daily power in our spirit and strength in our life. It's here that we're able to see God's daily desires for us. It's here that we're able to live from God's daily purposes. It's at this place that God says, yes, do this. No, do this. Yes, change this. No, continue to do what you're doing. Yes, in this season. No, in this season. It is here that Jesus was able to understand the ebbs and the flow, the pull and the weaving and the intertwining of his daily life. Like I said, busy. Second, he made eternity perspective, Second, he made internal perspective his aim. Hebrews 12, 1 through 2 says, let us run with endurance and active persistence the race that is set up before us, focusing our eyes on Jesus, who is the author and perfecter of our faith, who the joy was set before him, endured the cross. So Jesus had eternity in aim, that every decision, every conversation, every miracle, every teaching, all pointed and was led by the plan and the hand of the Father. That he was intentional and purposeful with everything that he did. Why? Because Jesus' life was on mission. And today, pastor, leader, minister, your life is on mission. Your life is set into course, just like Jesus being aimed towards the Father. And that's what living the dream is all about. It's not something that's far away. It's something that is right now. Everything we say, do, every person we interact with, every position of workplace or ministry, every platform of influence and impact are the strings that come together to glorify our Father, to glorify and make Jesus known. Finally, Jesus made time to rest. After they were feeding the 5,000, all the disciples, they're passing out bread to everybody. They're blown away by the amazing things that God has done. And Jesus says, you know what? In Mark 6:30, it says, it says, he said, come away by yourselves to a secluded place and rest a while. Jesus knew that when we live life on mission, when we're crushing it during the day, when we are busy, when we're making it a priority that God has set before us, that we must take time to rest. We must take time to rejuvenate ourselves so then the next day we can hit and make it happen and run with mission just like Jesus. Today, as long as we are breathing and have breath in our lungs, the pulling and the tugging and the weaving and the intertwining of our lives does not stop. I wish we can be like Pinocchio and just say, I got no strings to hold me down. I wish we can say that. But in life, we have strings that are going to continually pull and tug and weave and intertwine. Why? Because God wants to show his glory through our lives and make something awesome, special, spectacular in our lives. Pastor, minister, leader, spend time with the Father and receive from him the assignment that he has for you today. Number 2 is set your mind and your heart on Jesus, who is our goal, and live on that mission. Lastly, make the time to rest. Make the time to relax. Make the time to unplug. So then the next day, the next season, you are ready to go. Your life is being made into a solid tapestry that points to Jesus, that makes him known string by string, day by day. What you're doing is important. Who you are, even greater, is more important. And God has purposes for you today. I hope this blessed you today. I hope that you continue to enjoy this conference, continue to share, continue to like, and let's continue to be poured into and refreshed together.
Well, thank you, Nicole, for that awesome session on all things attached. And one of the things that I always notice about Nicole is that she's always passionate about the things that she talks about, and you can't help to take that on yourself. So today, I'm sitting here with Jordan, Ricky, and Pastor Tony over here, and we're going to go in some dialogue today about this session, All Strings Attached. And one of the things that I loved about her session is that one, it's all the strings. And so family, friends, where we work, what do we do, where we go, all these things come into play and how we make ourselves a balanced person in our ministries. And one of the things that you guys probably didn't know about me is I used to work in tile. And working in tile, you get to know other contractors and other people. And one of these contractors, it was just crazy to us because he would have to go to this job and build a wall and then go over here and do this and go to another project and do this. And sometimes in ministry, we feel that way. We feel that I need to post that picture. I need to make this graphic. I need to call this person back, even though I really don't want to call and talk to this person. We feel like we're pulled in so many different directions. And one of the things that I love that she said in this session is, we have days where we're all hitting on our desired goals. We're hitting everything that we did. We're hitting every single goal, everything that we planned for that day, for that month, that year. We're hitting it. But there are times when we feel like we're at a standstill, especially after these last few months. We feel like we're at a standstill. We don't know what's going on. Week to week, it seems like it's changing constantly. Tony, we've had this conversation for months now. And sometimes we feel like that momentum's gone. And we'd rather either just give up or throw in the towel. And so to kick us off today, Jordan, I'd like to start off with you. And you have a lot of things going on. You have a photography company, you have a family, you have a church, you have all these things going on. So what are some things in your life, the strings of life that pull you in the different directions the most, but also the least?
So the most I would have to say is on a daily routine it's not as much just youth ministry or children's ministry, which me and my wife oversee both areas. It's the other hats that you have to wear that sometimes take the majority of your work week, whether it's planning, whether it's dealing with volunteers, scheduling. We had the entire year planned out from January to December for youth and kids written on the board, and then March happened.
Throw it out.
And you're like, oh man, can we pick it back up somehow? So more than anything, you just have to live by a schedule, because yes, those strings will tug at you, but like we spoke in another commentary, basically, there needs to be balance. Yes, there's times where you need to put more of a priority on this area than this area at this time, but these strings have a way of developing contrast in your life. And God is all about contrast. You know, in the beginning, he created the heavens and the earth, and he created light to separate darkness. He knows what he's doing, and he is a master artist, and he knows that there's going to be strings that pull our life, but you got to focus on the things that are essential in that moment and be prepared for the next thing.
You know, one of the things that comes to mind is people in our church. You know, one of these things, the quotes or the mandate, not necessarily mandates, but the way that we live the last few months, our pastor has told us is like, people are everything. We call them, we seek after them. And when we call them, when we talk to them, they are ecstatic that we're talking to us. You know, but that's a string that can pull us off this way. And our families pull us this way. And so, Ricky, you are recently married. You are two and a half years into your ministry at Together Church. And so let me ask you this question. What are habits and practices that you do on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and how to stay balanced with everything going on in your life now?
Honestly, anything. Like, if I had to answer that question, it would just be anything. So, like, for me, at least, this might not be for everyone, but for me, I naturally, I won't get something done, or I won't chase something unless I know that all the details are in line and ready to go and ready for me to chase this thing or ready for me to do it. And because of that, I end up just not doing something because, as we all know, stuff just does not work out the way that we want to. All the details are not always going to be figured out. And so I end up just not putting in a practice or whatever. And so for me, to answer that question, any practice, just put in anything. You can start small. Like, it doesn't have to be like in the morning. If you're trying to think of a routine that is going to last you a year, you're probably going to get burnt out before you even start. Like, just start small and say, okay, you know what, this week I'm just going to wake up every day and just spend 5 minutes. And I know that might sound like a little bit, not enough for us, people that have been in ministry for a while, or we're good Christian people. We should probably be spending more than 5 minutes in our mornings with God or reading our Bible. But man, 5 minutes is better than 0 minutes. And so to me, it would just be anything. Find anything to do that's going to get you into some habit, some practice.
That's good. And, one of the things I also think about is now that we have all had to come into this online program, and a lot of places and people that I've talked to, it's kind of like we have no idea what that is. And so how are some of you guys adapted to that time on online? I have seen both of you guys do a lot of stuff on your social media platforms and keeping those people engaged. So what are some of those things that, as a string, could you help somebody with anything that you guys have done online?
I'll start off and you figure it. So biggest thing is make a schedule. You're going to procrastinate if you want to, and you're going to do it if you want to. And sometimes you have to live by a schedule. And iCalendar is the best thing, because Tuesday is recording day, and then Wednesday is going to be editing, and you want to have it done before the weekend on top of everything else you have going on. And that's a string that if you don't stay in constant contact with it, it's going to pull you out of your routine, out of the essentials in your life, and it's going to be Friday, Saturday night, you're editing something that should have been done 3 days ago. And you have to stick with the schedule for me.
Yeah, to me, and this might be like most situations where if you're married and you're doing this a ministry together, for me, you have to know exactly what your strengths and weaknesses are, because for me, I'm totally not an organized person. I'm not a schedule-minded person, but my wife is. And so she knows exactly what she's going to be doing throughout the week, when she's going to be posting stuff, when she's going to be doing that. And I will have to take the load on somewhere else because, my strength might be somewhere else where hers.
Every relationship has the wow and the how, right?
Yep.
So when you mentioned something about your wife and how she can help out with those things. So I know within ministry, I know that has been a really hard thing to do these last few months. And so I've had to pull people into our ministry that maybe hasn't done anything like online, hasn't done things like this. But how can, Pastor Tony, we'll start with you. How can bringing somebody in to help you with that string that's pulling you in a different way?
That's a great question. I'm really glad that you asked, because that's something that's so vital. As we find the complications of ministry are increasing, and maybe even in areas that are not necessarily our expertise. Maybe we've never live streamed before. Maybe we're desperately trying to Google search how to stream to our MySpace page, and we don't realize that nobody's on MySpace, right? If that's not your area of expertise, you can always staff that. You can always find someone who knows. And as you guys were talking about these things, ministry is messy, and I wish, Jordan, that our magical iCal lifestyle was a reality. But Tuesday's a recording day, and then you find out, but somebody got sick on Tuesday, and now we've got to cover for them, or we have to do a visitation, or something exploded somewhere. There's always those kind of things. In those environments, when we ourselves are maybe not available, or things that happen, or God help us, you get sick, and then you're sidelined for 2 weeks. You always want to make sure that as you're going through the process, you're empowering people and training people so that you can hand those strings off, so that you can pass those things along. From our personal situation, honestly, I was out with the COVID. I had the Rona for a couple weeks, man, and Nolan was a go-to guy for me. I mean, because of our relationship, it wasn't just like one day I said, Nolan, do this. I need your help with this. We have worked in partnership all the way through it. God prepares so that, like the story of Joseph. I mean, sometimes you have seasons of plenty, and sometimes you go through seasons of famine. You have to prepare so that in those moments, God can provide. So you always be building teams, always be leaning on other people, and always trust. Sometimes you have to ask people to do things that aren't as good at doing them as maybe you would be, and that's okay. Walk them through the process. Jesus did that with his disciples. You think any one of those jokers was as good at preaching or praying as he was? Yeah. Absolutely not. But he knew that he had to walk through that process with them so that he could release them. It's better for him to go so that they can be who they were supposed to be.
That's right. And sometimes you won't even know what strings are pulling you in different directions until you write them down, just like Jordan said. Make a plan, write these things out, and ask these people to help you out. And you have no idea until you ask people for help what strings can be taken off you. And you touched on it a little bit, Tony, that one of the things that Nicole mentioned was no one knows more about all strings attached than Jesus. He lived a full and busy day. He knew the struggle of life and ministry, but he also understood that these things what he had to do. Tony, what are some things in your daily life that makes you remind you of God and how you can put him into your life daily? Because sometimes, let's be honest, as ministers, as people, followers of Christ, sometimes we get this notion, I can do this by myself. We get into this comfortability of just doing it, and because I know what to do, I can do this. But what is something that you do, Tony, to reinvigorate that daily?
Now, one of the things is stop believing your own hype. Stop believing that you are capable enough and talented enough, and you might have the wonderful resume and the tremendous skill set to make it through without Jesus' help, and that's a disaster waiting to happen. That is ministry time bombs. You always want to make sure that you're dependent upon God, because sometimes when things are good and they're great, get up in the morning and have your tea and your biscuits and think about Jesus and read your 2 chapters from Galatians, and you're all set and good to go. But sometimes things get really messy, and sometimes things get really hostile, and they're not fun, and they're not pretty, and they're not clean. And in those moments, you have to realize that it was not your skill set, it was not your abilities that got you where you were. It's the hand of the Lord, and that's good. That's good news. It seems like, it's not, but that's good. Don't make it about you. Make it about him, because that means when you're not able, that means when you're not capable, that means when it's not within your ability to master and control, you can turn to the one who is the master, and you can say, you know what, I'm leaving it in your hands, and I have nothing but confidence that you're going to get me through this too. It's so vital, and it's so important, and that's good. And also, don't be derailed by disruption. don't get discouraged when things don't go exactly according to the iCal, because Jesus did some of his best work when he was interrupted on his way somewhere else. Right. Oh, hey, this guy's got a daughter and I'm going to go do that. But, on the way, someone reaches out and touches the hem of his garment and a great thing happens for her. And he was on his way somewhere. Yeah. You might be saying, sometimes the Lord does great things in seasons like this when our plans go. Pfft. So don't be afraid of those things.
Well, they say failure is the best teacher, but it's almost like failure leads us to the best teacher, right?
Yeah.
Where our weakness is, he is strength.
Right.
Yep.
So like with Jesus, we often think that if we delegate, that's us doing ourselves a favor. Right. We're passing off to someone else so we don't have to do it. But really, Jesus didn't have to delegate. He didn't have to ask the kid for his bread and fish. He didn't have to ask the disciples to, pass it out. He was giving them an opportunity to be a part of something bigger. I'm no longer looking at things as I'm delegating so I have less things on my plate. I'm giving others opportunity to be a part of something bigger in ministry. And who knows, down the line, that might be the door that opens for that person to walk into their own ministry. To find out, what, I like doing the words on Sunday morning for church. Maybe I do want to do more in media. Maybe I do want to pick up a camera. Maybe I do want to start a cinematography or a photography business. Maybe I do want to go on mission trips and be able to reach into a world that I would never been accessible if I didn't say yes to this one little task.
I think it's so important that we remember our position in the circle of life, and that is that we are conduits. We are really kind of in go-betweens between what the Lord is doing and what the people that he wants to do it in. So it really does become both. As we're talking about empowering people and we're talking about delegation and discipleship, it really starts with us making sure that we have that dependency upon God, that we have that dedication to God. Because if we're not connected here, there's no way we're going to pour out here.
Right. And we all know that as long as we're breathing, that things are still going to be pulling us, things are still going to be tugging us. But what we need to realize and what we need to always go after is that Jesus is always our constant. God is always our constant, that we go to him. And he's going to be putting those things together, weaving us together. But as long as we stay in Christ, as we keep following him, I believe that even though we have all these things attached, all these strings attached, we will be well balanced if we just focus on him. So we want to thank you guys for being here today. We want to continue with our conference today. Thank you guys for joining us in this session.